Alright guys, so today we're going to be going over every game I played in 2023. Well, every game that's not a live service game at least. Every game that has a beginning and an end. We're going to go over every one of those type of games that I played in 2023. We're going to go over the games that I abandoned, the games that I am still currently playing or that are in my backlog, and I'm going to go through every game that I beat. There's 22 of them, and I'm going to rank them from 22 up to 1. There's also 3 DLCs that I beat that I'll talk about as well. So yeah, interesting video. I have some notes here talking about it. I wrote them down. I don't really have like a script for this video, so it might be a little bit jumbled, but I do have the games written down in order and stuff like that, at least for the games that I beat. Now, let's jump into this video. This was an interesting one. It's been a very interesting year for me. Obviously, the games that I play for my other channel, the Apex Hound, are mainly sports live service games. I'm not going to touch base on any of them really, but I played a lot of hours on those games, so it kind of leaves me with a little bit more limited time to play other games. But I feel like I did a really good job in 2023 of keeping on top of it, of doing playthroughs for the Hound, playing random games in my own time, playing on the Steam Deck, playing on the PlayStation Portal. Like I feel like I kept up to date. So let's jump in. Let's do this thing. Now, not every game that I beat, obviously, and that I'm ranking is from this year. Like, say there's certain games that are from 2007 that I beat this year that will still be on this list, if that makes sense. So let's jump in. And by the way, I did just want to say, I think 2023 has been a phenomenal year for gaming. I'm still a little bit sick, you'll hear it in my voice, apologies for that, but yeah, it's been an incredible year for gaming. One of my favorite years for gaming. It feels like it just had everything. It had something for everyone. And we're going to start with the games that didn't really vibe with me that much, and the games that I abandoned. It doesn't mean that I didn't like them, but I'll kind of touch base on that while we're talking about them here. And the first game that I'm going to talk about that I abandoned, and this is probably a controversial one and gonna rub some people the wrong way, Resident Evil 4 Remake. As I said, starting off with a bang. The remake, for some reason, just never clicked with me. Now, I did play Resident Evil 4 maybe 5 years ago or so. I didn't play it when it came out. I played the Resident Evil 4 remaster or whatever it is on PS4 maybe 5 years ago, and I really enjoyed my time with it. I thought it was fun, and I thought it was quirky. I thought that the characters were hilarious. And the remake, for some reason, to me, the characters and stuff just didn't click with me the same way that they did. And that might have been that the game was a little bit more fresh in the memory, and the remake just wasn't necessary for me, because I kind of gave up on it about halfway through. I was like, I'm not even bothered. I don't know. I just don't even want to complete this game. And that's coming from someone who really does love the Resident Evil remakes that they've been doing. Absolutely adored the Resident Evil 2 remake. I really even like the Resident Evil 3 remake. Love Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil Village. Really love those games recently. So it's not like I'm coming in with this kind of thing where I haven't been enjoying the Resident Evil games recently. That's not the case at all. It's just this one, for some reason, did not click with me. But that's the first game I abandoned. The second game that I abandoned is Atomic Heart. Now, I really wanted to like Atomic Heart. I did. I just kind of got these like BioShock vibes off it, and I really wanted to. I came into this game with a lot of hype around it, I guess, but I just didn't enjoy it the way I expected to. I feel like it was just a little bit of a jumbled mess overall. There were some fun moments. The story was funny and interesting, but overall, I don't know. I didn't really click with the gameplay too much, and really ridiculously hard in certain parts, and quite boring in others, I thought. But overall, yeah, just never really clicked with me the way that I thought it was going to coming into the game, and I ended up just putting it on the back burner and never playing it again. Just FYI, there is 6 games here that I'm talking about that I've abandoned. Now, there is a lot more games where I've played like maybe 30 minutes to an hour of, and I just never got back to. I'm not going to discuss those games. I'm discussing the games that I abandoned after playing maybe like 90 minutes or more. You know, like, I'm not going to talk about a game that I just played 40 minutes of and then was just like, I don't really feel like playing more right now. I'll come back to it at some point. These are games that I like have played a certain amount. I really got to know the game and decided that it just isn't for me. And that's the games that I'm talking about here. The third game that we're going to talk about is Park Beyond. Now, the nostalgia of past roller coaster tycoon games just wasn't enough to keep me engaged here. I absolutely adored the roller coaster tycoon games when I was a kid. Really just completely loved them and played a shit ton of them. Now, I haven't played games like that in a long time, so I don't know if it was just something that I felt like this wasn't as good, or it's not as good as I remember it, because I don't think this game had the charm that roller coaster tycoon games of old had. It just didn't really click. I had some fun moments building the roller coasters and stuff like that and seeing some of the silliness of it, but it just never really came to fruition in the way that roller coaster tycoon games gave me that joy when I was a kid. Now, we're going to talk about two games together here for this next one. Games 4 and 5, I guess you could say. So there's actually 7 games I abandoned on this list. And the reason I'm piecing these two games together, they're both puzzle games, and that's Humanity and Cocoon. Now, these are not games that I thought were bad by any stretch of the imagination. These are two unique and awesome puzzle games, in fact, and they kind of just got lost in the sauce a bit, especially Cocoon. It came out at a bad time for me. I was playing a lot of other games. Humanity, I did play quite a bit of, and I got into it, and I was really enjoying it, and I love the whole theme of it with the dog and the kind of puzzle aspects with the people following the dog. I thought that was just such a cool, unique concept. Overall, it was really fun. I just kind of got stuck on a level and kind of never came back to it. But eventually, I do want to go back to Humanity. Cocoon, I started off like this game was awesome. The art style was really cool and unique, and it's not a long game or anything, but eventually, I don't know, there was no narrative or anything to drive the game on, and I'm not saying every game needs to have this crazy in-depth narrative or anything like that. I just kind of eventually fell off of Cocoon and didn't end up going back to it. It is worth checking out though, especially that it's on Game Pass. It's a game worth checking out for the art style and the uniqueness of it alone. I thought was really, really cool. Now, game number 6 that we're going to talk about is Chia. So this is a game that is kind of a really interesting and cool way to learn about a new culture. Now, it did eventually, to me, just become this thing of I'm just running from place to place and I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Like, I just didn't know what I was doing. But there's just a lot of charm to it at the same time. There's certain parts of it, like where you can find dogs and they'll chase after you if you, like you can have like a certain number of dogs and cats chasing after you, and just overall a wholesome game, I'd say. But I eventually just got a little bit bored of it halfway through. I'm glad I played it. I'm glad that I gave it a shot, and I did enjoy it. I think this was free on PS Plus as well, so you can try it for free, I believe, on the PlayStation Plus Premium or Extra or whatever it was. But yeah, overall really cool, and it seems like they had a great they had like a great passion for the culture that they were making the game about, and it showed, and it was really cool in that regard. Now, the last game that we're talking about is the game that I definitely put the most hours into on this list, and that's Ether Knights. So this was kind of like an indie style Persona game, and I was really digging it. I really was. And I was kind of having a lot of fun with the characters. It's basically like a romance version of Persona. Like you're kind of, it's much more into the romantic side of things. You choose between like 4 different females, or you can even go with a male as well if you want to. You play as a male character, I believe. I don't think you can play as a female. I think you have to play as the male, but you can have like 4 or 5 different relationships throughout the game. And I was really enjoying this. I was kind of played maybe 8 hours or so. I think I was maybe 3/4 of the way through the game. And there's this feature, right, where there's certain things where you have to end up reloading your game. And that happened to me multiple times where you have to reload your game. But the save is the first one that comes up. So there's a save and then there's load below it. So I just click in X, and then I clicked X on the save and like clicked X again, because you have to press yes to reload. When you're pressing the load one, you have to press X again to reload. And I did it on the save one, and that accidentally overwrites your save files. And I can't even tell you the amount of times that I did this. Like, it's so easy. They make it so easy for you to overwrite your save files. I don't know what the hell it is about that game. I ended up doing it 5 or 6 times till I eventually lost like 3 hours of progress, and I was like, I'm done. I'm done with this game just because of that alone. And I was actually really enjoying the game as well. It's not perfect, but it was really fun, and I was enjoying the kind of the character progression, the relationships that you had within the game. I was enjoying that aspect of it, but eventually, as I said, just fell off because of that. All right, now we're going to go on to the games that I have been playing, that I haven't completed yet, that are in my backlog at the moment, that I've played at least maybe 2 hours of. First one is Devil May Cry 5. Now, I've never played a Devil May Cry game before this, maybe bits and pieces, but I never played a Devil May Cry game from start to finish, and I was really enjoying it. And I've actually been playing Final Fantasy 16 recently, so that kind of trumped Devil May Cry 5. I kind of, they were a little too similar to play both at the same time, but when I was playing Devil May Cry 5, I think I played maybe 6-7 hours of it. Really enjoyed it. There's a lot of charm with that game. The characters are cool and unique. It's kind of like a little bit more of a campy version of Final Fantasy 16, I feel like, almost, and I definitely was having a blast with it. Now, I will eventually get back to this. Haven't played it in maybe 3-4 months, but I do eventually want to come back and play more of Devil May Cry 5. It's a fun one for sure. Second on the list of games that I'm planning to come back to that are in my backlog is Persona 4 Golden. I think I've played maybe like 15 hours of this game, and it's really, really good. I love Persona 5 Royal. I had to come back and check out Persona 4 Golden, but I just got carried away with other stuff, and you know, it happens. These Persona games are so long and drawn out that you kind of do just get distracted by other stuff sometimes, but the characters, the plot, the gameplay loop in Persona 4, really, really good. I do think it's a little slow in parts when you're trying to get from one kind of main plot point to the next. I do think it can be a little bit slow when you're doing your own thing. I think it kind of gets a little bit repetitive in the cycle there, the day-night cycle, where I think Persona 5 done that maybe a little bit better. But overall, I think the Persona 4 characters and plot is really, really good, and I'm looking forward to getting back to it. Now, third on the list is Baldur's Gate 3. I have to come back to Baldur's Gate 3. And you can see the quality of the games that are in my backlog that I have to come back to at some point. I played maybe 10 hours of Baldur's Gate 3, and I love it. The dialogue system is second to none. It's brilliant. The gameplay is really fun. It's just kind of something that I'm not used to and really difficult, so I got stuck and I ended up, again, similar to Other Nights, not really that similar, but kind of a similar situation where it's quite difficult to come back from that, where I was on this boss fight that I was stuck on for ages, hours and hours and hours I spent trying to beat this boss, and I eventually did it. I was over the moon. It took me maybe, I'm not even exaggerating when I say 40 tries, and these battles are long, drawn out, winded battles, and man, I was ecstatic when I beat the boss fight. And while I killed the boss, my AoE attacks attacked some of the friendlies in the village, and all of the friendlies in the village turned on me and started attacking me and killed me, and I didn't have any saves. I made the fatal mistake of not tapping. I didn't know about the F5 thing where you just tap to save over and over and over again, and I didn't know that you could save in combat because I'm stupid. I'm a Baldur's Gate noob, and it was completely my own fault, but it was heartbreaking and hard to come back to. But I might buy it on PS5, and now that I have the Portal, I have the Steam Deck, I might play it on the Portal or the Steam Deck and kind of get back into it that way and kind of just go back, play through Chapter 1 again, maybe a little bit, and because I don't think I did everything in Chapter 1 either. I was too low level to go on to Chapter 2. I kind of rushed it a little bit. Next game is Lake. Lake is the fourth game that we're talking about that I've played maybe a quarter of, I think, 2 hours or so, and it's just a game about you're a female that goes back to a rural village where she grew up and takes over her dad's role as the mailman for the weekend or the week or something like that. And it's quite an interesting premise for a game, but I just feel like it falls flat a little bit in that you don't do much more than that. It's more about the people and the connections that you make with them and the kind of what's going on in the town, but I felt like there was just going to be a little bit more there, and maybe there is the further I get into the game, but it doesn't really seem like it. It seems like it's just going to be that for the whole entire game, and that's something that is a little bit disappointing to me, but I do want to actually see it through and see if it goes anywhere with that. The next game we're going to talk about, I'll actually go over to it here because I just re-downloaded on PS5 because I have the Portal now, is Temtem. So Temtem is a game, as you can see, I played 4 hours or so on PS5, but I played a lot more than that on Steam Deck. I think I played like 20 hours or so on Steam Deck, and this is basically just a Pokemon reskin, like an MMO version of Pokemon, but it's really well done. They done a great job, honestly, in separating it from Pokemon as well, because there's a lot of games that did Pokemon clones that just got shut down by Nintendo, but they did a great job, and I really enjoyed the game. Still, I'm still nowhere near the end or anything, but I have some quite high-level Temtem, and I want to get back to this eventually. Haven't played in a few months again. I've just kind of been distracted with other stuff. I've been mainly just trying to get Final Fantasy 16 done by the end of the year for this video, and I did, because it's a long-ass game. I have 50 hours on Final Fantasy 16, which is incredible. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the video, though. Next up is Remnant 2. This is one where I kind of got close to the end, but just never ended up finishing it, because I was playing this always with my friends. We were playing consistently together, and then we kind of got some new multiplayer games that we started playing, and we just kind of left Remnant 2 in the wayside, which was a bit disappointing, but I do want to eventually go back and beat Remnant 2, because it's a really great game, actually, and highly recommend checking it out if you're looking for a co-op game to play with friends and stuff like that. It's quite a difficult challenge, but it's really fun to actually go and try and beat these bosses and beat these missions. I thought that it was much more enjoyable than I was expecting, because I liked the first Remnant from the Ashes, but Remnant 2 really does build on that quite a bit and takes it to a new level, I'll say. Seventh game we're going to talk about in my backlog is Dishonored. I played maybe 6 hours of this. See, I actually tried before to play Dishonored. I tried to play Dishonored 2. I tried to play Deathloop, and I just couldn't get into any of them at all. For some reason, I just didn't enjoy them, and I decided I'm going to give Dishonored another shot. Now that I have this, now that I had the Steam Deck, and it was kind of just easy to play in bed and stuff like that. Because people kept telling me, you know, Dishonored's awesome. Why don't you like it? Why don't you like it? And there was just something about it that didn't click with me the first few times I played the Dishonored 2. Whatever, Deathloop, but still haven't clicked with Deathloop. That one is a mystery to me. I don't know. But Dishonored, upon playing it now on the Steam Deck, I've played 5-6 hours. Really am enjoying it. I need to get back to it and complete it, because it's quite a short game, I believe. I don't think it's like crazy long or anything. I want to get that one completed at the start of the year before all of the big rush of all the new games. But Dishonored, pretty awesome. Give it a shot if you haven't already, and give it another shot if you have given it a shot and didn't like it, because that's what I did, and it seemed to work out for me. 8 is the Crew Motorfest. I don't have a lot to say about this one. It's a racing game. It's kind of similar to Forza Horizon in the way that they did the Crew Motorfest, and I have enjoyed it decently. It's not amazing by any stretch of the imagination. It's definitely not on the level of a Forza Horizon, but it's pretty fun, and I'm gonna go back to it and complete it. I played maybe 10 hours, 15 hours, something like that. I want to go back and play a little bit more. And last but not least, the game that I'm playing right now and doing a series of on this channel is GTA 4, and this game rules. Now, I never played GTA 4 before. This is my first time playing it, and the game is awesome. The characters are great. They're hilarious. Nico Bellic is just a phenomenal character. All the side characters are hilarious and unique in their own ways, and I think it's just a phenomenal experience so far. And this is from someone who doesn't really, or who hasn't in the past really got that into the GTA games. So yeah, looking forward to playing more of that and completing that in the new year. So that is my backlog right now. I have a couple games coming up that I'm going to be playing, like a Dragon Gaiden I have downloaded on Xbox. I might do a series of that, and there's a lot of games coming out in January that I want to check out as well. I'll probably do a video on that. Now let's go through the 3 DLCs that I beat, and let's go through in order from my least favorite to my favorite, which is kind of interesting because they're all so close together. I think they're all phenomenal DLCs, and I think that they all deserve to be played. The first one, which is my least favorite, which is still absolutely awesome, is Horizon Forbidden West Burning Shores. This DLC was kind of more of an additional add-on to the Horizon Forbidden West game, rather than these other two, which were kind of more like, honestly, unique experiences. But I really enjoyed Burning Shores. It was fun, and it was more of the epic Horizon gameplay with lava added in the Hollywood section, and just one of the most beautiful games I've ever played, and one of the most fun games I've ever played in terms of the gameplay. Just Horizon Forbidden West is one of my favorite PS5 games to date, which is so surprising to me that this would be 3 out of 3 of the DLCs. 100% when I played that, I thought that would be my favorite DLC of the year. But yeah, one that I just played is going to be number 2, and that is God of War Valhalla. Now, this experience was just phenomenal as well. Like, and I think I actually prefer Horizon Forbidden West to God of War Ragnarok. It's really close. They're both phenomenal games, and with these two DLCs, they're both phenomenal DLCs, but I think I just prefer the God of War DLC over the Horizon DLC, and that's because this isn't like an extension of God of War Ragnarok. This is something completely separate and unique, and I like that they went with that, and they kind of decided to have this little roguelike mode in the game. I think they just did it so well, because I was expecting it to be just that, but the story with going back to the Greek stuff was really, really fun, the way they tied that in there and kind of played towards maybe what will be happening next in God of War as well, and Kratos taking over. It's just overall a really phenomenal DLC, and the gameplay loop with the roguelike mechanics was just so fun. I had a blast with it, and overall one of my favorite DLCs in a very long time, but it just gets shadowed by this one, the Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty DLC. And this is kind of unfair, because this was almost like a whole new way of me seeing Cyberpunk 2077 in general, because I hadn't played it since launch on PS5, and it was just an incredible turnaround with this game. Like, Cyberpunk 2077 is unbelievable now. Like, I actually liked it when it first came out and enjoyed the story and really enjoyed the game, but it probably wasn't all it was hyped up to be. But now it is. It's obviously it took a little bit of time. It should have been like this at launch, but oh my god, dude, the game was phenomenal, and the DLC was absolutely epic. The characters in the DLC were so fleshed out. Idris Elba just done an incredible job with the character in the game there as well, and Songbird was a really, really interesting character there as well. And just to kind of go with them against each other and having to choose was absolutely awesome. Probably one of my favorite DLCs, along with the Witcher DLCs that I've ever played. The Witcher DLCs were phenomenal, but this is up there for sure. Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty probably only pales in comparison to those Witcher 3 DLCs. So that's the 3 DLCs I beat. Now let's go through the list of the 22 games I beat in 2023 and rank them from worst to best. And the games that I beat, I enjoyed all the games that I beat. So there's not going to be any games on this list that I didn't enjoy. But those would have been more in the abandoned section. But it's a phenomenal year. It steadily gets better, of course, as we go up through the list. We'll start with number 22, and that is 10 Dates. So this was kind of more just a cinematic experience than really a game, but I had a blast with it. It's a really fun time, especially for content on the YouTube channel, and kind of just seeing the different kind of ways that you can go with these dates and how they can turn out. I think it's a really fun and interesting concept, and definitely makes for some fun videos. So that's number 22. We'll probably rattle through some of these earlier games a little bit quicker than normal. Next up is This Bed We Made, a game that I played recently, that I've talked about recently, so I won't go too in depth on it, but basically like a murder mystery game set inside of a hotel where you play as a maid who snoops through other people's stuff. She's a little bit of a nosy maid, but she kind of stumbles on a little bit more than she bargained for, and it kind of turns into this big murder mystery, and you eventually kind of figure out what happened with the cops, and at the end of it, it does actually matter what you did throughout the game, whether you looked through certain stuff that will actually kind of affect the end game and the questions that you get asked by the police and stuff. I just thought it was a really cool experience, a fun experience. Kind of some of the dialogue got a little bit cringy in there, I feel like, overall, but a game worth playing. And not an overly long experience. It didn't overstay its welcome. It was a kind of a short, fun game, maybe like 3-4 hours, something like that. So into the top 20 we go with Fort Solace. This was definitely another cinematic game. It didn't have too much gameplay. There was a little bit in there, but it was more kind of just walk from place to place, a walking simulator with a pretty in-depth story. Now, it had some really good voice acting as well. It had Arthur from Red Dead Redemption, Arthur Morgan. It had Roger Clark. It had Troy Baker, who's obviously one of the most most famous voice actors in gaming at the moment, and I thought that they all did a phenomenal job. The story was really interesting, the voice acting and the animations and the performances were great, but it did just draw out a little bit in the way that you were walking from place to place, and that was it. There was no real gameplay loop, no action. There was a little bit towards the end, a little bit of action, but it wasn't like actual skilled gameplay or anything. It was just run, kind of press a button, QTs, that kind of stuff. But I'm glad I played it. I enjoyed the story, and I thought that it was definitely worth the playthrough, but definitely didn't like blow my socks off or anything. Number 19 is Sherlock Holmes The Awakened. I always enjoy these games. They're always a fun time, but they never like blow you away either. They're kind of just like a fun experience. You have to figure things out. It gets the brain working, and this one was kind of particularly heartfelt, I guess, with Sherlock Holmes kind of being in a lot of turmoil mentally, and I thought that this game actually did a good job of showcasing that and kind of getting Sherlock through that with the help of course, his good friend, Sir Watson. So far, these are all games that have came out in 2023, but number 18 is a game that didn't. It came out quite a while ago, and that is Limbo. I played it for the first time in 2023 and really had a great time. I did a full game video of it here on the Hound channel, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. I died a lot. It was really fun, the kind of way they set things up. It was kind of the start of those artistic, really cool Inside style games that I really do love. Now, I think I prefer Inside overall, but Limbo, Little Nightmares, these kind of games, they do have this kind of charming nature to them, and it was definitely a fun one for sure. Didn't really kind of touch me the same way Inside did, but overall, a fun experience, and I'm glad I played it. It only took me maybe like 3-4 hours to beat. It was a short experience, but it was a fun one. Next up is number 17, and that is Just Sand. This is a game that I beat fairly recently as well. It's on Xbox Game Pass, I think, and it's basically a game about getting to the top of a tower. You have to climb your way up there. It's kind of a relaxing, meditative game. It can be quite infuriating, especially at the start. Like when I first played this game, I really didn't enjoy it at all, actually, and I was really struggling with it. But I kind of came back and played it a different way and kind of learned the climbing mechanics a little bit better and really started to enjoy the way that I was actually progressing through to get higher and higher to the top of this tower. And it turned out to be quite an emotional journey along the way as well. Like you learn about this whole group/race of people that lived in this mountain that have become extinct because of reasons that you find out along the way as well. Don't want to spoil too much, but it's a beautiful game and a seriously beautiful ending as well. Number 16 is Assassin's Creed Mirage. Now, they kind of went back to the roots with Assassin's Creed Mirage, and I really appreciated that. I really enjoyed the gameplay of Assassin's Creed Mirage, especially. The story was a little bit forgettable. Like I can't even remember most of the story beats to Assassin's Creed Mirage already, and it really didn't come out like that long ago. But it was definitely fun. It was worth playing. I think that like just the kind of classic loop overall was really fun to kind of get back to, and just kind of bang, going in, doing the stealth, being properly stealthy, which you haven't really had to be in previous Assassin's Creed games recently, like Valhalla and Odyssey, which I really didn't enjoy Odyssey, but I did love Valhalla. And this was kind of almost like a little bit of a spin-off of Valhalla as well. You could definitely see that in the game as well, and with Basim as one of the main characters. But yeah, overall, it's not what I would have kind of expected from a mainline Assassin's Creed game. Not kind of the quality that I expect from a mainline Assassin's Creed game, I guess, but I still had a good time with it, and I guess it was kind of more of a spin-off really than the full Assassin's Creed games that they're doing at the moment. Number 15 is Under the Waves. This was a game that caught me off guard. This game hit deep. It was a game that's set underwater, and you basically are down there after the death of your daughter. You're trying to come to terms with it, but you're in this kind of isolated chamber underwater where you only have access to talk to your wife through a computer every now and then, and she's dealing with the loss of the daughter as well. You seem to be taking it a little bit harder. It happened quite a long time ago, and you just can't seem to get over it. But you have your friend down there who kind of talks you through everything, and he's really the only human connection that you have when you're down there. And you form this nice bond with him, and overall throughout the game, you learn about the goings on of the company that you're working for and the dark shit that they're doing in the ocean that is ruining and polluting the world. And I think that it just turned out to be such an emotional game that I really wasn't expecting, where you have to deal with the grief of deal with the grief that you have kind of put down there for so long, to actually overcome it underwater while you're isolated down there and you're seeing visions of your daughter, and it's kind of all coming to a head down there while all this other stuff is going on that you have to deal with as well, and kind of have to uncover this mystery and this dark shit that's happening down there and that they're trying to cover up. And I don't know if that was a good explanation of the game. It sounded a little bit messier than it did in my head, but I hope you guys can kind of get a good gist of it. It's a short game. It's 4 or 5 hours long. I highly recommend you check it out and give it a shot. Might be actually a little bit longer than 4 or 5 hours long, more like 5, 6, 7 hours long, and it was just an emotional experience. Definitely had its faults as well, but a really fun game, and highly recommend checking it out. Number 14 is Oxenfree 2 Lost Signals. This was a highly anticipated sequel for me because I absolutely loved Oxenfree, the first game. I had a terrible ending in the game, but I absolutely loved it. And this one, I really enjoyed it as well. I don't think it was quite as good as the first one, but I do think it was great. Of course, they had the supernatural elements in there, and they kind of had the crossovers as well with the first game, which I really appreciated. They made them kind of crossover, especially towards the end. You kind of learn about what happened in the first game and why it happened the way that it happened, and I really think that they explained it really, really well in the second game, and the kind of relationship that you have as well. There's a dog in Oxenfree 2 as well. The relationship that you have with the characters in Oxenfree 2, specifically the one character, what's his name again? Is it Tim? Jacob. Tim was the guy from Under the Waves, that's it. But yeah, the relationship between Riley and Jacob I thought was awesome. Kind of teaming up then again with Alex from the first game and talking with her and seeing what went wrong there and how to fix this shit, basically. Yeah, I just don't think it was quite as memorable as the first game, maybe. So number 13, we're going to Hi-Fi Rush. This is probably a lot higher up for a lot of people, and I understand why. It is really cool and unique, and I just couldn't get into the rhythm gameplay as much as some other people. Like, I struggled with it. I struggled to kind of get the timing down of it. But I did enjoy the gameplay. I had a lot of fun. The story was kind of a little bit forgettable overall to me. The characters a little bit cringy, but they were fun in the way they were portrayed. It kind of had that fun anime style for Hi-Fi Rush. But yeah, I just never really fully got into it the same way that other people did, because I know a lot of people have this like up there in their top 5, top 3 game of the years. It wasn't quite that level for me, but I still really enjoyed my playthrough of it. I played through this on Steam Deck, and I had a blast with it, for sure. The rhythm gameplay is really, really fun. So next up on the list is Dredge. This is another game I played on the Steam Deck, and I absolutely loved it. This game is basically about fishing. So you start off, you go out, you fish for the day, you come back and you sell your fish at night, and you improve your ship, you can upgrade it, get parts, and then kind of as the game continues, you encounter increasingly weird and Lovecraftian creatures as you venture out further into the open world and kind of come across a lot more sinister stuff. And I love the way that this game progressed, and you learn the secrets of a lot of these fishermen and kind of people who have been searching the depths for a long time, and you help them uncover these deep, dark secrets down below the waves. Definitely a game that I really, really enjoyed, and I want to see what this Dave the Diver / Dredge DLC is all about as well, because I've been wanting to play Dave the Diver for a while. That's in my backlog at the moment. I want to check that out, and I will do so in the new year sometime soon, I think. So after I play Dave the Diver, I might check out the Dave the Diver / Dredge DLC, because I love Dredge. I've heard a lot of good things about Dave the Diver, so that's one that's on my radar for sure. So let's go to number 11, and that is Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Really enjoyed this game a lot. Had a blast with it. Similar to the first game, It just has really fun gameplay, and I think that they improved a lot of the areas and set pieces in this game tremendously. I love the way you could use the mounts and fly around and get around the world really quickly. I think they did a phenomenal job with that. Some of the set pieces were tremendous, and the story was definitely better than the first game. 100% better than the first game, in my opinion. The first game did have a fun story, but it was pretty forgettable. This one was improved in a lot of ways. I think that this was just overall a very improved sequel. It did have its issues, like frame rate wasn't great, performance overall wasn't amazing on the PS5, but I did enjoy my time with the game. Took me a decent chunk of time to beat it, and I didn't end up doing everything in the world either. I just kind of mainly stuck to the main story, but they had some fun side activities as well, like going deep down into these caves / dungeons and fighting some cool beasts with the lightsabers. I mean, it doesn't get much cooler than that, really, does it? Right, time to crack the top 10. And kicking off the top 10 is a game I played on Steam Deck earlier in the year, and that is Pentiment. This is another game that I beat on Steam Deck, but I beat it a lot earlier in the year. And this is almost like a visual novel, but it's so much more than that as well, man. I absolutely adore this game. It's told in 3 chapters, and the way that they progress these chapters as well, and kind of they do some certain time jumps where you really like feel attached to this town, this village, these people, and the main character that you're playing as well. And they did such a phenomenal job of that. Interacting with all the characters, you get to really love them throughout the 3 chapters and kind of see them grow, see the town grow, and see how the world progresses around you as well. I just thought that they did a phenomenal job. This isn't going to be a game for everyone, because not everyone's going to want to play a visual novel, but if this is something that sounds cool to you, then immediately pull the trigger and check it out, because Pentiment was just one of the most unique, fabulous experiences I had in 2023, and highly recommend checking it out. Next up is number 9. This is a game that a lot of people are going to have as their game of the year, or probably a lot higher up than me, and that's Spider-Man 2. And that's not to say I didn't love it. I loved Spider-Man 2. It was great. I'm just not really a huge superhero game guy in general. I guess I'm more DC than Marvel skewed. I love the Batman games a little bit more than the Spider-Man games, but I do think Spider-Man does some things better than any superhero game has done in the past, and Spider-Man 2 was no different, but it was kind of more like a really good upgrade than a brand new sequel to the original Spider-Man. But I thought the story was great in this one, with Venom and Peter Parker kind of interacting with the Venom suit as well. I thought that his acting, Yuri Lowenthal's, was phenomenal in that game. Venom being this big badass that kind of interacts with the enemies that you're fighting, and he is your friend as well after all, you know. Kraven was an interesting character, and how Kraven and Venom interacted, just it all interlinked quite well, and was another great game by Insomniac. They don't miss. They did a phenomenal job here. It was as good as a Spider-Man game can be, in my opinion, you know? Number 8 for me is Starfield. Now, I did have this a lot higher up, but upon reflection, it kind of does come down the list a bit for me, just because of its shortcomings. Now, I do think that I did really enjoy the main campaign of Starfield. I thought they did a great job with that. It was one of Bethesda's best main campaigns, but I think a lot of the other stuff was a little bit lackluster in the way that it was done, especially open world exploration. I feel like the open world exploration and the kind of flying between planets and stuff like that, it just lost a lot of the magic that I thought this game would have. I did really enjoy the party system in the game. I thought that was probably the best part of the game, was the characters interacting with Sarah Morgan and kind of Andresia and getting closer with them. I eventually ended up marrying Sarah, which is something really cool that you can do as a complete side quest. A lot of the side content was great, like the missions where you join the Freestar Rangers. I thought that was some of the most quality stuff in the game. Really enjoyed that a lot, actually. And those were some of the best missions in Starfield. And the main quest towards the end as well was absolutely incredible. I did think it got a little bit batty towards the end, a little bit too crazy and out there. But overall, it had a lot of interstellar themes, which is one of my favorite movies, and definitely a lot of references as well to A Space Odyssey. There was a specific mission definitely referencing it. And yeah, I guess I just expected a little bit more from Starfield, but I still really enjoyed what I played, if that's fair to say. 7th is Hogwarts Legacy. I kind of swapped Hogwarts Legacy and Starfield at the last minute because I do feel like Hogwarts Legacy, to me, was just maybe that little bit more magical and enjoyable and kind of, I guess I had a little bit more recency bias with Starfield as well, but kind of upon reflection, sitting down, thinking about which game I enjoyed more, I think I did just enjoy Hogwarts Legacy a tiny bit more, but it was close between those two. And just like Harry Potter is an incredible universe. Like they have so much within that world, and I think that they did just a great job of showcasing that in this game. And this is like the first real big Harry Potter game since like PS2 or something, you know, and they really had a lot of pressure on them because they haven't really released a lot of big titles like this in the past. I think that Avalanche did a phenomenal job with it, and I can't wait to see what they're doing next, because obviously they were working on a new Hogwarts game, no doubt about it. But considering it was one of the best-selling games of the year, despite the pathetic attempts at a boycott, by the way, really great job at boycott. It's the first game outside of Rockstar to outsell Call of Duty in a year in a very, very, very long time. So yeah, the boycott went well, clearly. But yeah, the story in the game was actually quite fun as well. I enjoyed it. It wasn't like super memorable or anything, but the story with Sebastian Stan and kind of the characters there, Poppy, those little side quests I thought were great. And they have, like, my girlfriend actually played Hogwarts Legacy. She's not much of a gamer at all, but on Steam Deck, I played it on PS5. She played it on Steam Deck. I think she has something like 100 hours. I was just going to touch on the kind of animal shelter stuff that they have, where you go in and you have this like world for your animals and stuff. She spent so much time in there. I just thought that was a super cool concept and a really enjoyable Harry Potter game. Now, 6th is the game you see on my screen right here, is Final Fantasy 16. It was so close to cracking my top 5, but I think it just needs to miss out. And the only negative I have against Final Fantasy 16 is it's a little bit too long. For a big RPGs, I can understand being 50 plus hours, but this was just a straight story game, just combat, no real RPG mechanics, no turn-based shit. It was just 50 hours of pure action, combat, and cutscenes. Now, I'm not saying it was bad, because all of the cutscenes were amazing, and the combat is really, really fun in this game. And the more you play, the more kind of icons you get, and the way you can kind of team them up together towards the end of the game, I think is phenomenal, and it makes the combat so much more enjoyable. The combat at the start, I was like, this kind of sucks, but the more you actually learn it and get into it and kind of get more abilities, it really does become quite enjoyable indeed. But it was just a little bit too drawn out. I feel like they could have taken 10 hours off this game easily, and it still would have been just as good, if not better. And I think it would have made just as much sense. I think there was a lot of stuff they could have cut, but I get it. They're going for that big spectacle, huge AAA game, and they definitely delivered on that. The game is phenomenal. The gameplay, top tier. The cutscenes, the story, the graphics, everything are amazing. And this was my first Final Fantasy game ever that I beat, so a welcome celebration for me to count this as the first Final Fantasy game I've ever beat. I might go back and beat the Final Fantasy VII remake now or something like that, go play that in my spare time, have that in my backlog. We shall see. Let's jump into the top 5. Kicking off the top 5 is the Dead Space remake, and the reason that I have this so high on my list is Dead Space, the original Dead Space, is one of my favorite horror games of all time, if not my favorite horror game of all time, and this remake just honors it so well while actually improving everything about the original. Like, I think that the gameplay is better in this one. Obviously, I'd expect the gameplay to be better in the remake. The graphics are obviously better. I think the story is actually improved upon in the remake, and they add quite a little bit of side content here and there that's really enjoyable as well. So I think that this is one of the best remakes that I played, and one of the best games of 2023 as well, and it kicks off my top 5 just because of that alone. And I think they did a phenomenal job with it, and it definitely is scary and atmospheric as well. Number 4, Diablo 4. This game had a lot of controversy in 2023, mainly because of the live service stuff though, and I didn't really delve into that at all. So I just played the story from start to finish, Played quite a bit of the story co-op as well, but generally played through it by myself for videos here on the Hound channel, and I absolutely loved it. Like, the game itself, the gameplay was really, really dark, gritty, and fun. More like Diablo 2 than Diablo 3. The style, the atmosphere of Diablo 4 is phenomenal, and the cinematics. Blizzard strike again. This game has some of the best cinematics I've seen. Like, genuinely, specifically one of the cutscenes towards the end is just, I don't want to spoil anything, but it's just absolutely out of this world, where there's basically a little bit of a war going on there, a big battle. It was one of the craziest cutscenes I've ever seen. And yeah, it might not have had maybe the best live service package, but overall, I think that the story of Diablo 4 and the game in general was amazing. Now, let's jump into the top 3. So, third is a game that I literally just beat a couple days ago. Actually, it was yesterday. Yakuza Kiwami. This is a game that I've actually been playing for a couple of years. I just kind of got put on the back burner, got put on the back burner twice, and then I just kind of finally now came around and beat it. I played this on the Xbox Series X. It's on Game Pass, I believe, and the game is just awesome. All of the Yakuza games that I've played so far are awesome. This is, I think, like the 5th game that I've beat, if you include the Judgment. If not, it's the 3rd Yakuza game that I've beaten, and it's got me really, really excited about the prospect of playing Like a Dragon Gaiden, and eventually as well Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth when that comes out next month. It's crazy how close that is, actually. So I gotta go play Like a Dragon Gaiden and get that beaten before Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth comes out, because these games are just phenomenal. Every time, they don't miss. Kiryu is just one of the most incredible characters. They write their stories so phenomenally well, and Yakuza Kiwami, not quite as good as Zero for me, but Zero was one of my favorite games in a very long time. Like, that game absolutely rules, and I'm very excited about the future of playing these Yakuza games. There's so many of them, though. It's like I kind of get overwhelmed with which one I should even go to next. Like, I get lost in the sauce. But I think I'm gonna go Like a Dragon Gaiden, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, and then maybe go back play Yakuza Kiwami 2 or Yakuza 6. Let me know if there's any specific order you think I should play them in, if you are a big Yakuza fan. I don't know. Anyway, let's jump on to number 2. Number 2 is Mass Effect 3, the ending to the amazing trilogy of Mass Effect, and I just love this trilogy. Mass Effect 3 probably would be, I rate all of them fairly equally. Like, I think it might just be the weakest one, but Mass Effect, Mass Effect 2, and Mass Effect 3 are all phenomenal video games, and the way that these stories intertwine throughout the 3 games and never stray from each other is a testament to how good BioWare are, and they just did a phenomenal job with this trilogy. And the way that the different decisions affect the world and the people, and it's kind of one of the first games that really made that matter and made that count. And these were games that I missed out on when they came out, and it's a surprise because I love BioWare. I love Dragon Age. Dragon Age is my favorite RPG franchise of all time, so I'm shocked that I missed Mass Effect when they came out. I think it was because they were only Xbox, and I only had a PS3 and a PS4, but I'm really glad that I eventually have played all of the Mass Effect games, and look forward to hearing more news about the new Mass Effect game in the future. So, first, last, but not least, Alan Wake 2. Alan Wake 2 is a masterpiece. It was just an absolutely outrageous experience. It's not going to be for everyone. I think there is going to be a lot of people that don't get it, but man, is it fun. It's good. It doesn't take itself too seriously, but at the same time, it has those serious moments that hit different, and it was so much fun. It was unique. It was absolutely incredible. And the music was phenomenal. The acting was different class. The guy who voice acts for Alan and the guy who did the live action for Alan, both phenomenal. And the way they blend the live action and the gameplay is really incredible as well. They blend them so simultaneously that you don't even really notice. Like, it's incredible. And the game overall is just a masterclass in how to tell a story in a weird way. It almost feels like a weird movie, like it's a weird trip, but at the same time, everything makes sense in the end. And I really, really enjoyed my time with it. I highly recommend checking it out if you haven't. Remedy make these weird games that don't really appeal to the mass audience, but if you're in the stratosphere of loving the Remedy games, you will absolutely adore this one. And Alan Wake 2 is my game of the year and the best game I've played this year. So thank you for watching. Really appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm feeling a little bit woozy after talking for an hour straight because I'm sick as a dog. But thank you so much for watching this video. This has been kind of more like a freeing experience for me to talk about all the games that I played in 2023. I really wanted to do something like this at the end of the year because it's been such a phenomenal year for gaming, and I feel like I've had such a great time getting through my backlog. And maybe I'll do another video like this at the midway point of 2024 and kind of just discuss all of the games that we beat in 2024 so far. So thank you for all of the support. Really, really appreciate it. I'll see you next time. And yeah, Happy New Year to you. Merry Christmas. See you next time.